Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Jeff Has Cool Friends. My name is Jeff from the title of this show, and I have a cool friend. This is probably the smoothest introduction I've ever done. I jinxed it a little bit by saying that out loud. I'm very excited to have my very cool friend show up. She is an incredibly talented comedian who just dropped an absolutely killer album. She is a TV writer. She's an actor, she's a podcast host, an absolute gosh darn good person. Subhah Agarwal. Subhah, hi.
Hey, thank you. One of those was a lie. Figure out which one. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a good person.
Oh no. I mean, that part was, people don't need to know the reality of it. They can just roll with it. Subhah, we've known each other for quite some time. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we're both in the LA comedy scene when you're not also in the New York comedy scene.
Yeah.
Being occasionally bi-coastal, that's got to be stressful, right?
Yeah, sucks because I'm not rich. It really sucks.
Yeah, when people say bi-coastal in other places, they're like, I go to one of my properties.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people out here, you'll see a lot of people in LA that are just like, okay, well, I'm subletting my apartment for these 9 days.
I know.
If somebody doesn't fill it, I'll lose everything.
I know.
So do you know anybody that needs a 9-day apartment? And I'm always just like, this is embarrassing, right?
I can't, in this economy, what is dignity? Which by the way, I had to go to a hospital called Dignity Health or whatever the and they charged me so much money. I'm not even going to talk about that, but it was like really ironic to be like carrying a cup of your own pee past a sign that says dignity. I'm like, stop. Like this
There's no dignity in a hospital.
No.
The only dignity is when you die in the hospital.
Yes.
That's the only way you get dignity.
That's how you win. The sweet release of death.
Yeah, I love it. Our Lady of Mercy until you get the check, and then it's a little bit expensive. Yeah. So you are a bit of a multi-hyphenate. You actually do talk a little bit about sort of that journey that you go on. By the way, Dog Show is a great album.
Thank you.
I did purchase it on Bandcamp to make sure that that seemed like the most optimal way to give you money, right? Is Bandcamp the best way to get an album?
I think so. I don't understand all of it, so I'm just like, wherever. As long as you download it, I'm happy.
See, people say that, but I don't know if that's always the best. People are like, hey, man, just listen to it on Spotify. And I'm like, that. Give me money. Like, I get that. I think we do. Comedians chase exposure maybe a little too much.
Yes, 1000%.
Like, I kind of stopped doing that a little bit after I was just like, hey, my knees hurt too much for me to work for exposure. Where I was just like, I'm too ancient to be like, you know what? Just as long as people get the gist of what I'm going for. I'm like, no, I need money for this because I will die. Do you like what I do? Give me money.
100%.
But is there physical copies of the album that were released?
No, we didn't, because I wanted to get it out as soon as possible, and then like the physical ones it makes the release longer.
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to worry about like having to sell the physical copies too, because I was like, oh, it's just like another headache I didn't want to do. So for this one, I just did digital.
You like just go for you didn't want to have like a CD?
No.
You didn't want to sell your CD at the things? You guys what CD player?
I should sell VHS tapes. I think that would be.
I like that. Like mixtapes like came back. So that was the thing. Like I did an accidental album with Adam Todd Brown because somebody bootlegged our entire set at a show he used like a DAT recorder. The guy was really nice. He's like, hey, I recorded the whole show. Can I just like release it? And we were like, no, but we'll give you money for that recording. And then we released like a split album.
That's
like
really funny.
And we released it. You could get it digitally, but we also had released it on gold cassette.
Oh, that's cool. Actually, that's really cool. I feel like if you do that physical though, you just like sell it, but then there's also a download code on it because like nobody has.
Oh, I have a bag of download cards, and honestly, like I look at that material as I wasn't thinking that we were going to be recording an album, and I would rather record like an album.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm just going to pretend this doesn't exist.
Yeah. I don't know. The landscape has changed so much with like saving it for a thing versus releasing it. And apparently nobody cares if you're doing jokes that you dropped on Instagram anymore because everyone's like brain is rotted from TikTok. So I'm like, whatever the and like I got that first hour done and then I'm already like, if I can just like, I have a weekend or two lined up, but I need more, which is like another thing that's getting harder with TikTok. So like, oh, I'm so sorry, you don't have 1 million followers. But yeah, I'm like,
that is a bit frustrating, the
it's
social media
so
aspect of stand-up
annoying.
comedy, where it's like, the joke is like, oh, I only need 80,000 more followers for people to know that I'm good at the thing that this has nothing to do with.
Exactly.
I love those things where they're like, check out these up and coming comedians, and it's someone with like 300,000 followers on Twitter, and you're
I
just
know.
like, no,
No.
they made it. That they're not up and coming.
That's exactly it. And I think I said this to Sean as well, my husband. I was like, if I want to drop 5 hours of comedy and then I can feel fine quitting. So I have 1 hour done, and my second hour is like almost done. It's just like there's too much. I have to narrow it down to 60 and get it into a narrative.
Mhm.
So like if I can get the weekends I need, it'll take me a couple months, and then I'm almost halfway to quitting. Like that's how I
So
am in
close.
my brain.
Which is actually such a funny, because you detail on the album Dog Show. You can check it out. Check it out on anything that's not free. On Dog Show, you do talk about how this was your dream when you were young, and that you were doing stand-up at a much younger age than anybody should be doing stand-up.
Yes.
Because nobody should be doing stand-up. And then to see it now where you're like, I'm almost done, like ripping a cigarette. Oh, I'm almost done with this son of a. It is funny that like how the dream can turn to ashes in your mouth
Oh
sometimes.
my God. It's so exhausting at a certain point. And then you're like, because if you don't, I mean, look, I'm not complaining. I'm very grateful for everything I have. But at a certain point, I'm like, no,
Yeah,
it's
I'm in a
not
hard
worth
pass.
working this hard for what I'm getting back. It's crazy. And then it's like, genuinely when people are like, for every like one success there's like 1,000 failures, and it's like, yeah, there really are, and it like eats away at your soul, especially if the success isn't like grand, you know.
And especially when seeing the failures consistently make attempts
Mhm.
and fail, there's something very it's like inspiring and also very demoralizing when you see somebody who's bad at comedy still doing it after like 25 years.
Yeah.
And you're just like, do you just love this thing that hates you? Because
Oh my God, I ran into this one lady who was like been doing it because I've been doing it for like 15, almost 16 years, and there was some chick in the green room who has been doing it for 30 years. And then she was like, oh man, I was so close to being X, Y, and Z. And like, I was just behind this famous comic. I was second in line. And like, all of these little missed things she was talking about, and how she was still desperately hanging on. And I swear to God, that bitch was like the ghost of Christmas Future. I almost quit that night. I was like,
there's yeah, I think a lot of us have stories like there were things where, I almost had several TV shows. Like
Mhm.
shows, one that was like one where it was already an established reality show and they wanted to bring me on, and then it was like they decided to go with somebody that looked less like me, which is fine. It was like there was already hosted by like two white dudes, and they were like, maybe we could mix it up. And I was like, it was very early in my time out here, and I realized, I was like, you know what, that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't come here for this anyway.
Right.
And then there was another show that almost made it, and it got and I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm seeing this now. I get it.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you end up on a Netflix game show. Like sometimes those things happen. October, a very big month for you because Dog Show released in October, and that was the beginning of October, right? October 2nd, I want to say.
Yeah, it was the beginning of October, so whatever that weekend was, I don't remember.
So you started October with an album release, and you ended October with a marriage.
Yes.
To another comedian.
Yes, unfortunately.
How's that? I'm saying that like, hold on, let me rephrase that as somebody who is dating a comedian.
Look, we can both make bad choices. It's fine.
Yeah. Like in the marriage or in this, or
I mean, all of the above. D.
There's so many we can both make bad choices moments in this conversation right now. So you got married.
Mm-hmm.
You went to Chicago to get married. Is that where you're from originally?
Yeah, that's where my parents are from. They're from the suburbs. So my mom was mostly planning it. So we're like, and she had planned my brother's wedding in the same area. So I was like, oh, she'll know the vendors and the venues. It'll be simpler. So wrong.
Yeah.
I was so wrong.
Was it what like Oh, imagine how much harder it would have been if you'd gotten married first.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it probably would have been simpler and cheaper if we had gone with a wedding planner, because then we could have been more in control, as opposed to letting my mom do what she was doing. I mean, the wedding was amazing, and like my mom did a lot of work, so I'm like happy, but I was just like, oh my God, you know?
Is that from what this is the part where I'm a white guy that studied Indian history, so I'm trying not to be like one of those guys that pretends they're an expert. Is that common in Indian families that the mother would take over that role, or is that something that your mother specifically was like, I'm going for it?
I don't know. I mean, I think in most cultures, like the mom is really excited for the wedding. Like she was like genuinely planning my wedding since I was like 16 years old. Like we would pass things or like decorations, and she's like, "Well, I have to write that down. That's gonna look really beautiful." And I'm like, "The are you talking? I'm never getting
Since you were
married."
16 years old,
Yeah,
so yeah,
like
you're gonna,
she would like
yeah,
mention it casually and like have ideas
yeah.
and stuff.
A lot of My Chemical Romance napkins at the at the wedding. Stuff from when you were 16, you know.
It's so crazy. Yeah, just an in-sync wedding cake.
You said you liked it.
No, it was so crazy. She cared way more about it than we did because we wanted something simple and not expensive, but then it like kind of snowballed, and it's like it's fine because it was so much fun, but it was also like what the did we just do?
You also got married like on Halloween, right? Or like right?
Really close to it, like a few days before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it was a non-Halloween themed wedding, which
no.
must have been like a real throwback for whoever, like a real like twist. Whenever the person who's booking the venue was like, and where are your Jack Skellington and Sally cake toppers gonna go? And then you're just like, actually, we're just getting married. And they're like, you're not a weird goth thing where you're gonna put like vials of each other's blood around your necks or something.
No, we're not Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah.
We're not.
Yeah. No, sorry, we're just bland. Just a standard wedding.
Oh, I mean, it's an Indian wedding. I'm sure they would have loved to get some goths in there. It would have been way simpler. There would have been no band, no possibility of an elephant. We didn't want an elephant, but there would have been like way.
And
way
somebody
easier.
more ornamentally dressed.
Right.
They would have many more like rings on the fingers and things like that one would expect. But yeah, so was it? You said it was an Indian wedding, is in the traditional style of what you would see when you see a big Indian wedding.
Yeah.
Nice. In Chicago.
Yeah.
So you had was it the menu Indian fare as well?
Yeah, like, because it's funny, Sean was like, oh, you should have some non-Indian food for people in case they don't want it. And then,
Non-Indian food. You see,
I
because
can't.
you get it.
Oh my God. Could you be any paneer? Okay, I'm gonna stop. You know, paneer pun. Okay. Anyway,
Non-Indian food.
but he was like, maybe we could have like pasta, because my mom was like, oh, the caterer does pasta. And then we looked at the menu and it was like pasta in red or white sauce. And then we were like, no, just do Indian food. What the is pasta in red or white sauce? That's crazy.
Oh, because they're saving you the trouble of saying marinara or Alfredo.
I
and they're
know,
just
but
going,
it's like if that's what you're calling it, there's no way that's going to taste good.
I would say suburban Illinois people, you kind of have to keep, you don't want to get too ethnic. You don't want to get, unless it's Polish, and which you can get as ethnic as you want. If you go too ethnic in the suburbs of Illinois, they're going to be
That's
like,
true.
I'm not going to eat this marinara sauce. Like it's just the red sauce. Oh, we like that. You mean like on a pizza? Okay, we'll put that on there. I enjoy Chicago. I do not enjoy the weather in Chicago.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I kind of like having seasons though. Although it's like decently cold right now in LA, so it's fine.
I think Daniel Tosh does a bit about that, where he's like, where people's like, I like the seasons. He's like, I do too. That's why I live in a place that skips the one. And I'm down with that a little bit. Yeah, currently, as of recording, it is cold and rainy in Los Angeles. It has been in the mid 50s and wet. And let me tell you, this town does not know how to handle that.
They really don't. It's so fucking
It might as well be a tornado.
Although I forgot, I took my dog to the dog park. Not the last time it rained, like the next day, and it was just like mudslide. I felt so stupid. I was like, oh god, I
Like, what
forgot.
are
I
you
should have
doing?
waited a couple, because I'm not used to like calculating that. And like my dog was just like coated in mud and like dog drool, and I had just paid for her to get a bath at Petco. I was so angry. But
Oh, yeah.
it's not like I can show her the park and be like, just kidding, we're going to the dentist. Like I had to let her in at that
It's like
point.
washing your car right before the rain. And you're just
know.
like, I get it. Like, I totally understand that. And I've screwed that up. Do you, because you've lived in, I would say, and this is probably stupid on my part, but as far as cities go, and just cities in general, I do consider like New York, Central Point, Chicago, and then LA, where you live in LA now. Are there things that you find very different? I mean, obviously there are, but like, what are those big differences that you notice?
You mean comedically?
Comedically or life-wise, yeah.
Well, I mean, comedically, New York just has like so much more stage time. That
Yeah.
isn't like centered around whether or not you're famous. In LA, it's much harder to work the most popular clubs unless you're like extremely established. It's
Or a
really
rapist,
fucking hard.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean established as a comedian. I mean established as in like you've had a Netflix special and a TV show. It's like really difficult, and like even when you're like an established comic, you might be working those clubs, but you're not working them regularly like you would in New York. You don't. It's like hard to get a home club here, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Mine got demolished. I was a Nerd Melt comic, and it got literally demolished. Like, there's no bigger metaphor than I was like, finally a space for comedians like me. In the back of a comic book store with a small but really boisterous room. I was like, I'm made for this. And they're like, congratulations, it is getting destroyed and turned into condos.
Yep. About par for the course. But
So more crypto bros can buy a second location.
exactly. But no, New York has that advantage to it. LA, it's just like harder and more frustrating, but like still possible, which is why I've been spending more time in LA lately, because like my husband and my pets are here, and I was like, all right, just suck it up and make it work, and like find rooms that'll play you to fill in the gaps, and I've been doing a decent job of it.
If you could transplant from LA to New York, would you?
Yeah, in a heartbeat. But
Okay.
the issue is like because of Sean, I can't really do that. So, but it's like on the other hand, I love having, because Sean has a house, and I love having a house and a yard and like
Yeah, you married into a house. Look at that.
I know it's I know
That's not the worst thing, right?
exactly. I think the quality of life is better in LA than it is in New York. New York is just, unless you're super rich, it's so stressful.
Oh, I see those the apartments. People are just like, oh, just moved into my new apartment. I was like, that's a pantry.
It's like you're
That's
crammed in there because you're not, the trade-off is like you're living like but you're not like, you're not there to be at home when you're in New York. You're there to experience New York and be out and be doing like 5 club spots or whatever the you're doing. So it's like when you're home you don't care because like you've traded it in for like this magical experience allegedly, or it could just be Stockholm syndrome. And then Chicago has a great comedy scene, but it's like more difficult to get if you're like establishing yourself, it's more difficult to get the industry connections you would need in Chicago.
You develop the insulation. I think smaller cities, and by smaller cities I'm saying cities like Chicago and Boston, which are not small cities, but you get that they become very insulated, meaning you can build good talent in there, but it's much harder to get the respect of the coastal, the two big coastal cities.
Unless you're like super famous and then you choose to, then you can live wherever the you want and it's not a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, there's like 5 famous comedians total. Like whenever people talk about that, like in LA, when like I have this conversation with Val often where she'll be like, oh, I need to get a headliner for this. I was like, huge news for you. Headliners don't do anything in LA. Headliners don't move tickets. They just don't. Like, unless it's Kevin Hart or Dave Chappelle or John Mulaney, there's like, it's nobody's selling extra tickets out here because there's so much access.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. There's so many famous people here. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's why I think with Mint on Card, our best thing has been like making people fans of the show instead of chasing.
And like
fans
that's
of...
the way it should be. And I think like other comics were talking about it, how like clubs are depending on talent to bring people, but they're like, so they're hiring these like TikTok people who don't have the year. I mean, in some TikTok like people who got big off of like Atsuko, like she's actually a stand-up
Yeah.
comedian who's super talented, but a lot of them aren't. Like they just haven't had the opportunity to develop what they need to develop to actually properly headline. So they'll bring in these acts into their clubs because they have huge followings, and then people will leave and be like, oh well, that was a bad show, and then the club becomes increasingly dependent on performers to bring the audience because the audience doesn't trust your club, as opposed to just making them fans of the club and the show, which
And
was the old model that worked. So annoying.
It was at one point in time, but yeah, like especially in LA. And I think there are clubs, if you are LA, if you are, you know, LA local, then you would know that clubs like the West Side Theater don't necessarily chase that situation. Much different than the larger clubs like the, you know, the Comedy Store, the Improv, that are like, you got to make sure you sell this many tickets or else the show doesn't happen. And, you know, and they kind of become this, they're the places everybody wants to go, but I don't necessarily know why other than legacy.
Right.
Where I'm like, you know, it's come to the point where I'll just say like, oh, what's the rate? And if they're like, oh, we're not paying, I'm like, I don't work for free so other people can make money. Like, that's weird. I think that there's words for that and I'm not going to use them, but yeah. So you had recorded Dog Show. It's your first album, right? Okay. So Dog Show you record. It took about 15 years to get an actual album that you were comfortable, ready to go, and to record. -2 for the pandemic, we'll say.
It's because, like, because I kept getting really close to being famous. I kept getting really close to having something huge happen for me. So I kept holding the material. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I have this, this, and this going. And it's like, if any one of these 5 things happens for me, I have a really strong chance of selling this as a special or just being offered something. So I kept holding the material, but then it was like 5 years in a row of being like second in line for something and like not booking or not getting it or just having things canceled, where I was like, I just have to put it out myself. So I I gave up essentially, because I kept being like, oh, okay, my thing's gonna happen for me, and then I'll be able to do like what Ali Wong did, where she just kind of came out and like dropped her first big thing on a major platform. So in my head I was like, oh, that's what I'll do, but then that thing never happened for me, even though it looked like it was going to.
I like that you considered it giving up instead of owning your
well, giving up on the idea that like, oh, I was like, you know, where just big things where I was very close to like selling my own TV show and
Oh, really?
like, yeah, it's like if that had gone, I could have easily gotten a special. And then, or like, I almost had a huge part in this movie, that like a major movie that was theatrically released, and I didn't get it, and I was like in the top consideration, and like like that kept happening for me.
All right, so we're just gonna gloss over that. You're not gonna tell me what movie that was?
I mean, I was, you know, Confess Fletch. I was almost the brown detective. So
Ooh.
yeah, so, and that would have been huge for me, and that would have upped my profile enough, I felt, to like have had a solid chance of being able to sell the special to somebody. So it was shit like that, and it was just like, and it wasn't just like 1 or 2 things, it was things like that, like a lot of them over the course of like probably 3 to 5 years of like almost, but nothing, but literally nothing. And then I kind of was like, I can't keep waiting for somebody to make my career. I just kind of have to live in what I have now, which is fine.
I got more comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Like, I think I got comfortable with that a lot more quickly than I was expecting. Like, I think sometime around 2016 is when I really kind of was just like, I'm going to stop chasing the opportunity of the mainstream success and be like, I'm just going to do my own thing, and hopefully enough people notice that they can keep me alive.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I mean, that's good. That like cult, and it is funny too, because I've talked about it before. I think I talked about it even with Valerie, where Valerie is a much more mainstream comedian than I am, and she's, you know, obviously had Conan and TV credits and blah blah blah, and I'm very much like that kind of culty indie energy, and we're both we have different pathways, but I think we're both reaching that success, although I kind of pulled away from stand up a little bit more because I don't know, it might be one of those things where like maybe the integrity's not doing me as well as it like where you think like working with integrity is important. It's like, yeah, but if you're not working because of it, like the whole like I don't want to work in any of these places where they're booking known rapists.
Oh, then you're not gonna work. Unfortunately,
Exactly.
yeah.
And it's like, like what do I do there? Do I figure out how to avoid the entire club concept, or do I go full indie? Because I'm not famous enough for that to, I'm not Patton in 2006.
Right.
I can't do that. It's like that tour was Patton, Posehn, Bamford, and
that shit was crazy.
And what's his name there? The guy from the Hangover.
Galifianakis.
Zach Galifianakis, and they did their Comedians of Comedy tour, and I was like, man, like I'd like to do that, but I don't have 25% of what one of those people have for a following. So
right.
Yeah. But so you're here, LA, and this is. Do you think you're gonna you guys are gonna stay here, or is it more of like a who knows, or like
no,
we should get the fuck out of here soon?
Sean's opening his restaurant, so he wants to move to Chicago to do it. So, I mean, which is like interesting for me because like when I do work or book something, it's either New York or LA. So, but I'm like, okay. So I guess we're moving to Chicago next year. He's going to open his restaurant and then I'll just end up having to bounce around from city to city.
Yeah, halfway point. The good thing is you're liked enough that you will have access to that. Like that's not going to be as much of a problem as there. So you another thing I mentioned, Val, you actually run a podcast called Family Gems with Valerie Tossi, former guest of the show, and I've done an episode, and you guys just made fun of me the whole time. It was real great. It was real good. It was very funny. It was funny because like the episode is good, and I definitely suggest listening to all the episodes of Family Gems because they're very good. They're very funny, and I think you guys are an undiscovered gem of the podcast world.
Thank you.
Pardon the pun. Although after the recording, I think I texted Val and I was like, I do have notes. I was like, you might not want to be super mean to your guest the whole time. I was like, that might push your listeners away a little bit when you just meanfully roast the person. She's like, "What? It was funny," and I was just like, "Okay, well, it was a very funny exchange." Where
I think we were meaner to you than we were to most of our guests normally. To be honest.
Probably. Yeah, that's probably right. I do like the direction that you guys are going. I think it's very fun, and obviously, and you're still in your infancy, right? You guys have been doing this for like what, 5 months, 6 months?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, so it's still a baby.
Yeah.
And so, is there a long-term plan for that with the show?
I mean, I think we're just gonna keep doing it. Hopefully, build a following behind it, and then see. I mean, I know my manager has like asked me about it every now and then, and like I've sent him a write-up and whatever. So,
well, that would be nice, right?
Yeah, who knows if he's actually pitched it or done whatever with it, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing it because that's the nice thing about a podcast is like you can literally just keep,
That's the nice thing about a podcast. Try like, I don't know, 8 or whatever number of podcasts I'm doing these days. Some would say too many, and that some would be everyone but me. I think
some would say, please stop.
Weirdly enough, as of the recording here, the next 5 days, not only do I have at least one recording every day, but I have at least one recording at 3 p.m. every day.
Wow.
Not counting all the other ones. So like somehow I've managed to hit that schedule of doing 3 p.m. recordings for the entire week next week.
That's crazy.
Of various. Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. Do you find it, because the show is about people basically telling sort of crazy stories about their families. Mm-hmm. Do you get people that have denied doing the show or passed on the show because they don't want their family to listen to it?
Some people have, or like they'll agree to do it and then they'll freak out last minute, and it's like, what the But also, like, you don't have to talk about your family. Everybody has like a funny family story. It doesn't have to be mean. Like, it doesn't have to be like, my mom beat me when I was drunk. Like, no, just like,
that is funny.
You forgot a cousin at the gas station in Orlando. That's hilarious. Like, everyone can relate to that. It doesn't have to be some like up dark family where it's like, and that's why Uncle Rodney can't come to Thanksgiving. Like, no. It can just be something fun. And like we tell them that. I'm like, it can be fun and it can be about you, or like if they have kids, like their relationship with their kids. Like it doesn't have to be.
I think it's
so
funny
weird.
because comedians just tend to be so mean-spirited that they immediately are like, oh, you mean I have to say something terrible about my family? And it's like,
no.
Why did you immediately jump to terrible?
I know.
Family Gems is a really fun show. I enjoyed doing it. One of the things that you guys gave me a really hard time for and cut it into a video, which was really nice, was even though I had tested negative for COVID, I was still extra masking on the plane, and I wouldn't take it off unless I was in the restroom, including if I would take my little snack and go in there.
Yes.
And you guys roasted me so hard about how disgusting that was, that I was like drinking water in the bathroom.
I can't.
and I kind of reminded I like kept sending her stuff, like, here's another article about how the entire plane is gross, and I kept like, I wouldn't let it go. And she's like, can you just stop? Like, the show's over. I'm like, I need you to know I'm right. I'm like, you drink coffee on the plane somehow. Wait till you learn about the hot water dispenser on the plane.
What?
Don't never drink coffee or tea on a plane, by the way.
Why?
Because of the way the filter works. Like, they never, like, there's like some kind of thing how like that it never gets cleaned out appropriately.
Ew.
It's like the shake machine at McDonald's. Don't ever order anything from that.
What? Why are you ruining all of the things that keep me alive?
Go for it, man. It's not keeping you alive. You're alive in spite of those things. Don't drink anything with hot water on a plane. Like, just don't do it. Like,
that's crazy.
There was it was a podcast. It was Thrillist did a podcast where they were interviewing flight attendants, and they were very specific about the hot water thing.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, you gotta listen to the employees. They
were like, do not do it. And yeah, the same thing with like the shake machine, because they never get cleaned out properly. They never get cleaned. So they're like filled with like sludge and like that.
I mean, look,
foul.
if I'm eating at McDonald's and drinking a shake, I don't want to live anyway. If we're being honest. But you know what's okay? I'll give your listeners a tip. As somebody who used to work at the Apple Store, don't try on over the ear headphones. Don't put those on your head. The ones that are out on display, never put those on your head. It's disgusting. Really? Yeah, because like in New York, like unhoused people, which doesn't make them inherently dirty, but it's like obviously harder to have access to a shower if you're unhoused.
It's okay to say that out loud, I think.
I'm just like, I don't want to be like, oh, just because you're in a house means you're filthy. But there were a lot of people who couldn't keep up personal hygiene that would come into the store and then put those headphones on their head, even though they were like, at one point, somebody visibly had bugs on them, and then they like those headphones had to be disinfected because like there were bugs on the headphones after they left. I don't know what those bugs were. I went to the other side of the store. I'm like, I'm not processing what's happening right now, but it's like so many people put those headphones on their head, and like a lot of those people are not clean, so it is really disgusting to just put that like on your hair and your face and just be like, yeah, I'm gonna listening to this album. It's like, no,
hard pass on that. Yeah,
it's so gross. Never put over the ear headphones that are on display on your face. Don't do it.
Anything that's on display in general, I wouldn't put on your body.
Yeah, but you don't think about it because it's over the ear. It's not like it's in the ear, so you're like, oh, this will be fine. No, it's not fine. It's so gross.
I have these like earbuds that I wear when I go for a run, and then sometimes I'll look in there and I'm like, man, I thought I used Q-tips. Like I'll be like, I'm pretty sure that I do the things to not make this be a problem, and yet I cannot help but notice the amount of sludge.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is pretty foul. And there was one time where I was like, I took a toothpick and I was cleaning it out and I like punctured through like the speaker thing, and I'm like, this whole house of cards is falling apart. Like, maybe I should just not do this.
I just used an alcohol wipe to clean them out. That's
probably better. You're a smarter person than me. But if I do, like, if looking inside an earbud, there's no better way to be like, I need to do something about my ears immediately. Even though, like, you got out of the shower and you use the Q-tip instead, be like, I need to soak hydrogen peroxide in my ear canal for 9 minutes and let the bubbles clean me out. Like, that is an absolute move. You ever do that?
No. Can you actually
lay on your
put
side?
hydrogen peroxide in your ear?
you lay on your side and you put like 3 or 4 drops, maybe a little bit more of hydrogen peroxide in your ear, let it fill up, and you can hear it like bubbling and stuff. And then when you're done, you put a paper towel and you turn your head over the other way and you just look at what pours out.
Ew.
And you're just like, this is gross.
No,
I'm in.
I've used those earwax drops, whatever. I don't know what the is in that from like CVS or whatever.
Yeah, they also sell like scoops and stuff. They sell like little plastic. There's like little kits you can get that are like, and I looked at that and I was like, they're like, don't use a Q-tip, use this thing. And I'm like, this looks like I'm just putting a spoon in my ear canal. That also seems dangerous. I was like, this doesn't seem better.
The human body is so gross. It's so
gross. Disgusting. Like the human body is so nasty. The fact that anybody has ever had sex is gross. Where you're just like, you did what? Ugh. With like a person? Ugh.
With a disgusting human? Ew.
Yeah. In which part? Ugh. They put those under pants for a reason, folks. Subhah, I don't know if you knew this, but I have, if you're listening to this for free, if the people are listening to this for free, thank you so much for listening to Subhah and I talk about earwax. There's nothing I've wanted more than for that. And I appreciate that. If you're listening on Patreon, I appreciate you more. Some would say I appreciate you more for not only giving me your ears, but also your money. It keeps me alive. I eat money. So that's how I live. If you head on over to patreon.com/JeffMay and you sign up for the producer tier, you can pay a little bit of extra money. I'll say your damn name. I will say your name on there. And Subhah, we can talk. We can discuss these names. We can talk about them. We can have a good time. For example, just added this morning as of recording, Joseph Gonzalez. So hey, Joe. Hey, how you doing? So let's give a big shout out to Norm from Cheers. Hi, Norm. Give a shout out to Burrito Mouth. I don't care for pie. Oh, it feels really good to get that off my chest.
Is that their name?
Well, that's what they paid me to say.
Oh, that's what they paid you to say?
Oh, just wait. Just wait, Subhah. You're in for a ride. Jocular, haggard, cantankerous fool. You're going to get a lot of JHCF and acronyms here.
Wow.
Shout out to Vortispin. Just boof it.
Boof. What does that mean? Just boof it.
It depends on if you're trying to become a Supreme Court justice and people are asking you what that means. And then you just go, I like beer, and then cry, and then you get put on. Shout out to Jolly Holly Christmas Fool, JHCF. I'm a Christmas fan. You a fan?
Yeah, I like Christmas. Sean is obsessed, so.
Wow, you and Val have a lot in common because I am also obsessed. Has she mentioned that to you, that it's like a problem?
No. Oh wait, no, she did because of the Santas.
Yeah. I got some Santas. I've filled up the collection has grown mightily since then. It's funny because my Christmas tree is a lot of personality to it, and there's a lot of ornaments like personalized and stuff. And Val was like, "Let's decorate. Now we'll decorate my tree." And ornament wise, she has like 5 things with personality, and then everything else is just a ball. And I was just like, as I'm doing it, I'm like, this is boring as shit. As I'm like putting them up there, I'm like, another red ball. We'll just put that there.
I like the idea of like trying to call a Christmas tree ugly, but like covering it. It's like, those ornaments have great personality. They're not.
Yeah, well, I don't think a Christmas tree. I personally don't believe a Christmas tree should look elegant. You killed a tree and you dragged it into your house.
Not like that horrendous barren Melania Trump Christmas decorations.
Right. That like high-end Christmas tree where it's just like a simple strand of white lights. I'm like, get the out of here.
You mean the ones that look like they fell out of a Guillermo del Toro dystopian Christmas? Those?
Right. No. That. I want one that looks like... I want one that's covered in like shit you got in Burger King in 1989, like that kind of ornament. Like I want the ornaments to look silly, and show the personality of the people that are celebrating the spirit. And so when I was putting them up there, I was like, oh, there's a silver ball that represents balls, apparently. Oh, red. Here we go. Don't worry about it. She doesn't listen to this, so she won't know that I was talking shit on her Christmas tree.
I'm FaceTiming her right now. Is that bad? No.
Yes, she has work to do. Try to be the kind of person that makes Mr. Rogers proud.
Aw.
It was a nice
good
one.
Advice, yeah.
Shout out to Where's Clawful. That's an inside joke about.
I know Clawful.
Because of, my lobster villain monster man. Yeah. Shout out to Gerard Ruane. Shout out to Farty Marty, who's devoted his life to being upwind from Jeff in case, quote, the great air biscuit arrives as foretold. He wrote a novel for me to say out there. That's a good use of $10.
Oh, you can just
floating an air biscuit.
For me.
Yeah. Are you a biscuit fan? Yeah.
I love a good biscuit.
Best place to get a biscuit.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I prefer them homemade because I want Sean to make them.
Is he good at making biscuits?
There is a great place. Is there a good biscuit place in LA?
Places that have good biscuits. I mean, the KFC is, I think, famously has pretty decent biscuits. Popeye's biscuits are great. If you like salt, a Popeye's biscuit will get you to the game. Cracker Barrel has good biscuits.
That's true.
Are you a Cracker Barrel fan? Yeah.
I've only eaten there like once or twice, and then like I went because I was like traveling in some remote area, and they had a Cracker Barrel, and I was like, oh, I've heard about them, so I got a salad. But then I was like so wigged out just like being in that environment that I ate it in my car in the parking lot. I don't know why. I just walked in there.
What was the environment? Was it too busy because of all the bric-a-brac on the wall?
It was so uncomfortably white. Like there was not a person.
That's so wrong though. Like that's such a misnomer. I mean, not your experience, but like Cracker Barrel is one of the most like progressively owned and clienteled places.
I'm sure it was. I think it was more the area I was. I forgot where I was driving and traveling. But it's one of those things where I immediately walk in and then people are like, what the f*** are you? Like I can see that in their eyes when they like
you're not white or black. So
that's
how do they figure it out?
Yeah, and then Guatemala? They're like, what is this? What are you doing here? We don't see people like you around here. And that energy, I was like, let me take this to go and then I'm just going to eat it in my car because this is creeping me the f*** out.
You should be like, do you have the Vindaloo omelet? And then they're just like, what? I like me some Cracker Barrel. They were like one of the first places I saw that did equal representation on Santas.
Oh, really?
They were half white Santas and half black Santas.
Hell yeah.
I wasn't mad about it. Eat and die, Grand Canyon. You ever been to the Grand Canyon?
What?
You ever been to the Grand Canyon?
Yes. I don't remember it well, but when I was a kid, yeah.
Oh, was it? It was probably a big hole in the ground, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. You got the gist. I've seen the pictures. I don't need to go. Show me in the rules where it says a dog can't play basketball. Gray man, tell me your fears. Shout out to Jeff using Deep Blue Sea memes to break bad news. I did that about a year ago with the death of Betty White. People will not let me forget about it. A lot of people found out Betty White died by me posting a meme using the 1999 film Deep Blue Sea. Shout out to Tyler Wilgus asking 7. In the time since he changed his name on this document, Jezbutt had a kid, got a new job, and got COVID. Dude, Jez, I'm getting concerned that you have not updated this. Is the kid okay? Is he in college by now? Update that name, dude. Kimball, the casual Frankenstein. Shout out to the Target loss prevention officer currently hunting Jeff. That's because I shoplift from Target. Just M&Ms.
I shoplifted one thing from a self-checkout, and I was so proud of myself.
What'd you do?
I bought a bunch of groceries, and then, you know those, like, tiny little health shots?
Oh, yeah.
I just, like, saw it in the cart, and I was like, there's no way anyone can see that I haven't scanned that, and it's very easy to be like, oh, I missed it. So I paid for everything else, and then I just shoplifted. So that shouldn't be $6 any way, so I just stole.
It is hard. It would be hard. I'd be hard pressed to, like, if I'm dropping like $95 on Target and they're like, you didn't pay for this $1.59 bag of M&Ms, you thief. I'd be like, is that the thing I would steal? And the answer is, yeah, it actually is. So we got that going for us. Shout out to 20 years in retail has taught me loss prevention watches employees, not customers. So I like that whoever did this put this right after the Target loss prevention officer currently hunting Jeff. So that lets me believe that go for it, everyone. They're just looking at employees for stealing. And also, if you steal and, make sure Target loss isn't paying attention, but, steal from work. Shout out to Steven. I'm having trouble reading this name because I am illiterate. Cody Beck, shout out to Jeff thinks turkey is disgusting. I don't.
Oh, okay, good. I was about to be like, what the
I like turkey. A lot of people talk on it now. It's been very popular to talk on turkey.
I didn't like turkey. I think because it's like hard to do well. But like Sean made one that was like really well done, and I was like, oh my god, is this what this supposed to taste like? Because this is amazing.
Yeah. When turkey's done well, it's amazing. Shout out to Lisa McCarty at Comics Book Girl, comics with an X and girl with a U. Shout out to Aeschylus and his tortoise. Ooh, Dr. DNA. I get to beguile. The scene in Meet Joe Black where Brad Pitt dies. Shout out to I'm never gonna have a history podcast, you little so stop asking. Shout out to Mackenzie. Jeff made me feel like a douche from my Albert Camus reference, so now I'm going to make him say Eddie Haskell's obvious piss fetish. Chill. That's one guy. Shout out to Instagram and Twitter's at Bob_of_skull. Shout out to While My Chocolate Starfish Gently Weeps. Lemming Malloy. Shout out to Lemming Malloy. Jay, friend of the crows, demands a crow emoji. # join the murder. We were at the wine place last night, and in the trees was a committee of turkey vultures.
Oh, that's creepy as
Yeah, I was like, they waiting for a white lady to break her hip in the rain, fall down.
I'm waiting for someone named Susan to just have one too many Merlots.
Yeah. It's time here. And then just some cartoon vulture comes down and picks her bones.
They're just waiting to hear it's 9 o'clock, and then they strike. That's what they're waiting for. Oh my
God. Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of women there whose name and religion is both crystal. So follow my dog's Instagram at Bash Noggins. He's dumb and adorable. I love a dumb dog. Dumb dogs are better than smart dogs, I think. They're much more lovable. A smart dog, they get uppity. Shout out to you get the Aldo Vargas rookie card, everybody. Shout out to Bauhaus. Shout out to Koi Pham Art and Mentoring, former guest of the show and sponsor. Good for him. Shout out to Nolan Void, Ricky Cilantro, Big Booty Boy, 42069. Maine, more than Stephen King. You ever been to Maine?
Mm-mm.
No.
I didn't know Stephen King was from Maine.
Oh, please tell me that's a joke.
No, I didn't.
It's like every setting of every book he's ever written is Maine.
Probably.
Yeah. There's not. Yeah, he's very Maine. Jumping rope, still a sport. Jeff not liking it, still a fact. Okay. I don't like sports. It's the name of one of my podcasts. You don't even like sports. So there we go. Bodacious Big Bad Bouncing Bollock Bonanza. Shout out to Jennifer Fenderlander at AV Foundry, Patrick Dore, Bart Fardigan, Jeff Horde's Christmas Festoonery. It's another change. Yeah. Shout out to Huey. Check out Nerd with Dre and Jeff, wherever Jeff May podcasts are found. That is correct. And we have a nice little treat for you guys for the month of December. Rudy, Daft Punk has an anime Rueda. It's called Interstellar 5555. Are you a Daft Punk fan?
I mean, I'm not against them.
You're not. They're not your sworn enemy.
Yeah, I would say I'm a fan, but I'm not. I don't have anything against them.
What about anime?
Oh, I love anime.
Do you do? What's your favorite?
I mean, that's hard. I like a lot of them. I like Black Clover because I think it's I think I'm just in love with one of the captains, Yami Sukihiro. I mean, but Jujutsu Kaisen is really good. My Hero is really good. I mean, I like Chainsaw Man, even though it's like weird. But yeah, there's a lot of good ones.
I hosted the My Hero panel in Michigan, and it was the 4 principal actors. And I got to tell you, I've never felt more useless than being on a stage with 4 people who know each other well in front of 1,000 screaming children. I've never been more vestigial. I've never been more useless, where I'm like, I introduce them and then they know what they're doing.
Right.
So even after the panel, I was like, hey, I'll do this every time if you want. I just want you to know that you guys should probably just go in-house for one of these people, because you don't need my talents for this. Like, yeah, give me a tougher one. This is just me watching a panel from the side. But they were really nice. In case you're wondering, all the actors for My Hero have been absolute delights.
Aw. That's good.
Shout out to Jeff Hates Competitive Fun. Oh, I will also add that I told my niece and nephew that because they're big anime nerds because they're losers, you know? And that was so mean. And I was like, your uncle's hosting the My Hero Academia panel. And they're like, that's cool if you like mainstream anime. And I was like, you know what? You. Shout out to Goji. Feliz Navidad, you jolly. I didn't have to go that hard on that one, but I felt good about it. Yeah. Do you have a favorite Christmas song?
No, I don't like most Christmas songs because as somebody who has worked retail, you hear all of them so many times that I like Christmas music is like partially ruined for me.
I gotta be honest.
Mariah Carey, I can't. I feel like I'm back scanning iPads.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna put these overhead headphones, over ear headphones on, so I don't have to listen to it. I worked at Toys R Us.
Oh.
In the winter of 2004, 2005, and 2006. I was like seasonal for them. I just loved doing it. Aside from the fact that Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time is one of the worst songs ever written and performed, it never ruined Christmas music for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's some good stuff out there these days, actually. There's an episode of Unpops that we just recorded where I talked about some stuff that's been really great. And Kelly Clarkson's been doing great stuff. Meghan Trainor, Sia. Really good Christmas stuff going on. There's a great song by Ed Sheeran and Elton John called Merry Christmas. It's a delight. A delight, Subhah. Kool-Aid Molotov wants to remind everyone that fascism is bad and punching Nazis is cathartic. Who am I to disagree with there? Shout out to Dan Hackroyd. Happy holidays. That's a fun little... Someone just wrote Happy Holidays. That's it.
It's nice.
That's it. I, Jeff May, believe that there is no better streaming service than Tubi to watch Armand Assante movies. Favorite Armand Assante movie? Go.
Oh, I don't have one.
Exactly. Correct. Itty Bitty Millie Committee Pity the Fool. Shout out to Kelly says, eat the rich. They're hoarding all the blue check marks. I got huge news for you, Kelly. They're not hoarding any check marks now because you can get one for the low, low price of $8.
When is Twitter going to die? Just die.
I'm so mad it was my favorite.
I know, but it's like this weird, like, will it, won't it? There's like, and then I keep seeing all these like bad about it. And I'm like, okay, well then if this is what it is, it should die.
Steep backslide into fascism over on Twitter.
Yes.
But, and I'm just glad I can still be there. And just every time Elon Musk says something, I'll be like, hey, you're a idiot. You know that? And that feels great. Like that genuinely feels pretty good. The guy who played JJ in Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon. Shout out to Lisa Harden, also my co-producer on Mint on Card. Shout out to Jessica Robertson, Silius Ruby, The Digital Phil, The Ghost of Dave Thomas, The Great Advertising Scam, a Jeff May joint. Oh, I'm working on it. Aaron Meyer. Shout out to It Was Me, Jeff. I've been giving you $10 a month since the beginning so you could afford more gas station Pop-Tarts, keeping you sluggish. Just slow enough for me to steal Christmas. Do you have, what's your favorite travel snack? When you stop at a gas station, what do you buy? Give me your sweet, give me your savory.
Okay, well, I always try, I mean, first of all, caffeine. If I'm stopping, if it's a road trip, I need caffeine. Savory, I mean, who doesn't love Cheetos? But then you get your hands all up, so like Cheetos,
the puffed
Cheez-Its.
or the crunchy?
Say again? Puffed
or crunchy?
Oh, puffed.
You like the puffed?
Yeah.
You said that like that's a natural answer.
Yeah, obviously. My life is hard enough. I don't need my Cheetos to be hardened and bitter too. I want...
When they look like little tree branches, yeah.
Yeah, I want a cloud of cheese joy in my mouth. So that's...
That's going to be the title of the episode if I titled these episodes.
So that's savory. And then sweet, I mean... There's classic M&Ms, very easy to eat. But
you like the brown bag M&Ms, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm stopping to eat, I'll probably do something healthier. I'll probably get fruit, which is like boring. But that's normally what I'll do.
Yeah. I don't think road trips are the place to eat healthy. Like, I get it, but also at the same time, like, come on. Like, I need those I need pizzeria pretzel combos.
Yeah, I just like... you travel so much as a comic that I'm like, I gotta just start like trying. So I'll normally, if I'm being honest, what I'll normally get will be like fruit or like Smart Pop popcorn because that's like not that terrible
Yeah,
for
right.
you, but it's
I had
like
a
boring.
I had a gas station cherry Pop Tarts yesterday. That's a good one. When you can find the cherry, that's a good day. It's a good gas station. And the good news is that they're probably almost about to expire if Pop Tarts ever expired.
I like them when they're hot though, when you can heat them up.
Oh, you like them toasted?
Yes.
I prefer them raw, but I'm not mad about a brown sugar and cinnamon toasted or s'mores toasted.
Oh wow, you prefer it like not to? That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trash. There's no. Maybe I'm white trash.
Yeah,
No,
you don't
that's-
eat your Pop Tarts that sophisticated way.
Yeah,
Toasted with your pinky out.
my roommate made toast up until like last year. She made toast by turning the burners on on our gas stove and just putting a piece of bread on it and flipping it. And I finally for Christmas bought her a toaster oven and she was like, "What?" And then finally she learned how to use it. And she's like, "This thing's the best." And I was like, "Yeah, they've been doing great.
That's
Toaster ovens
so
have been really
funny.
doing great."
I can't.
But yeah, she cooks like if we're doing like a taco night or something, she'll turn the flame on and then toss a tortilla on the burner.
She cooks like a
and, like-
pioneer. That's crazy.
And like yeah, it's really interesting. I'm always just like blown away by it. I'm like, this is fascinating to me.
Wow.
I've never seen somebody make toast by just putting it on an open
But
flame.
yeah, actually toasting it. I mean, does she also churn butter and like season the bison meat overnight by hanging
that
it
would be
outside your
nice.
windows? Like, what is she
That-
doing?
That would be nice. I'm not gonna lie. Like that would be pretty great. Shout out to Cronenberger Meisterburger. 3 Jacob Tremblay's in a trench coat sneaking into an R-rated movie. Parker Aylesworth. Just Parker Aylesworth. Shout out to Christy Salinas. Hi, your friendly neighborhood mortician here to encourage you to get life insurance.
Ha.
That is information that is being relayed from a very specific point, and I think that's a great idea. Jeff has colossal feet. Probably. He's a big foot. I don't have small feet. I have a 13 or a 14, depending on the brand.
Well, according to WikiFeet, I have okay feet.
Just okay feet?
Yes, that's what they said. There was one photo, and it was me in a giant group picture. So I'm like, sure,
That means somebody went for it.
which is like creepy. It's
Yeah,
worse.
the only picture they could find is you in a group photo, and they're still like, I got to make this, though. But that's going to feel like you've made it, right? Is that the real blue check mark?
Yeah.
Is it
WikiFeet,
having a WikiFeet?
Absolutely. That is how I verify people's identities. I'm like, should I take my news advice from you? Let me check your WikiFeet.
Want to know something eerily unexpected? I have pretty feet.
Really?
And that shouldn't be the case for a myriad of reasons. Not the least of which is that I abuse the shit out of my feet. I was running 6 miles a day, during the pandemic. So like, these should be hideous, but they're not. I've seen friends back home where I'd be like over their house and they're like wearing sandals and it looks like a brick on the back of their foot.
Oh,
It's all like,
yeah,
and I'm
that's
just like, what do you?
learn how
what
to
did
use
you-
lotion. The is
Yeah,
wrong with people?
But I don't even lotion up my feet.
Really?
I'm just like, what did you catch to have that be a thing? And I don't want to body shame anybody, but I'm just like, I don't know how that happened.
But I don't want to body shame anyone, but shame on you.
Yeah, shame on you specifically. No, but I don't know. Like, I didn't do anything for it. It's like being tall and being complimented on it.
Mm-hmm.
When people are like, you're really tall. And I was like, thanks. I worked real hard at it. I don't know what to say. But I have surprisingly pretty feet. No wiki feet. Somebody make me
Not
a wiki
yet.
feet.
One day.
Yeah. I'm going to really start posting photos of just me, like real wiki feet bait. There's going to be a lot of pictures of me with my feet up and just, just listening to a podcast, my foot just sticking it up.
No, I hear you. And, what's that one director that's obsessed with feet? Why am I forgetting him now?
Tarantino.
Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
Tarantino the out of your Instagram. Just unnecessary.
Do you think that you should get pictures of your feet out there more so you can make sure that your okay feet are then be like, no, they're actually pretty good. Here's a better
No,
picture.
I don't.
No.
I'm not. I mean, look, if that's your thing, that's cool. It's not my thing, so I don't care if my feet are sexy or not. I don't. There's too much other to worry about. I'm not gonna care about that.
I'm too competitive. If I had a wiki feet and people were like, Jeff May has okay feet, I'd be like, the I do. I'd be like, what do you think about this?
There's
That's a
some
group photo.
competitions I don't mind losing.
That must be very freeing to not care what a random internet weirdo thinks about your feet.
Hot dog eating contest. I don't want to be the person that could eat the most hot dogs. It just feels bad.
I don't want to be that person, but I wouldn't mind being the person that is constantly eating hot dogs.
Oh God.
Do you not like hot dogs?
I just think they're so. I mean, I don't really eat them because I'm technically a vegetarian, so I'll very rarely eat meat.
Are you?
Let alone a hot dog. Ew, like it's so.
Are you vegetarian for moral reasons?
I was raised that way, and then
Yeah.
like I still continue it because I'm like, yeah, why not?
Is that moral, cultural, religious? Your parents?
Cultural, religious, and then now as an adult, more moral, where I'm like,
Fair.
animals aren't really treated right. And I don't want to eat anything that's super smart. Just feels up.
Yeah, I kind of have been thinking a lot about it, and I was like, I totally get like veganism, but I don't understand vegetarianism from a moral perspective because I'm just like, well, if you're not vegan, you're still causing some pretty damning situations here.
Yeah.
But also that's wrong. But also I eat all of it, so I have no moral ground to stand on anything.
I try to eat less of it. That's my whole thing. Is like just reduce. I'm like I'm not gonna. I don't know. I'm also buying clothes from Forever 21, and I treat people. I'm not a good person. Like I said.
That's fair. Aside from feta cheese, during the weeks I eat pretty much vegan.
Really?
By accident. It's just that my protein powder is vegan, and I have a protein shake and then a salad. Yeah. And I put a little bit of feta cheese in the salad, and that's the only non-vegan thing that I consume.
Yeah, that's like similar to me, other than when Sean orders food. Like I'm pretty much like salad, I'll drink a shake or whatever the and that I make it with like almond milk and like veggies and there's no real animal stuff in it.
Yeah, because Sean White, your husband, is a very talented cook and very Southern in the sort of mentality of cooking. So that's got to be hard if you're like, well, I'm pretty much a vegetarian. He's like, Subhah, I got a rack of ribs like in the Flintstones. Come on, eat it. And then he was just like, well, this is not exactly the way that I normally would eat, but I am a supportive spouse. So.
And everything is like butter and cheese and like really tasty, but it's like I shouldn't be eating this.
Yeah. I'm going to get you fat. You trying to tell me that you don't want to eat this delicious rack of ribs? That's my Sean White.
It's impressive.
If I was in a more open situation, I'd be doing it a lot better. But I feel like that wasn't a terrible.
No, it wasn't bad at all.
All right. A shout out to Verbose Minimalist, world's humblest man. Mindfreak555 says, if you don't like the Grand Canyon, visit Providence Canyon, a real American canyon. You must be so confused at the amount of Grand Canyon stuff in here.
Yeah.
I went on a podcast one time and just said, I don't the Grand Canyon. I don't care. I don't give a shit. If I was at the Grand Canyon, I would look at it and I'd be like, yeah, that's what the postcards look like.
But it's also scary. Like, why do I want to be reminded that the earth can literally just swallow any of us at any given point in time? Like, it's like, oh, you want to stare into the abyss? No. That's so
it's like going to a murder museum. But that being said, I don't know. Women like to listen to true crime podcasts all the time.
That's
so
actually entertaining. You know what I mean? That's interesting. There's a villain. Like, what is the villain? The ground? Like, I don't care.
The earth. I think Earth. You know, I saw it 28 days later. No, not that. Not 28. The day after tomorrow. I don't know. I can never tell about day movies. Shout out to Ass of Bass. Shout out to Jen. Be earnest and enjoy what you love. Such a sweet message from Jen. Nicholas, you're doing great. Fabian, Gotham City, OSHA, and Jeff May convinced me to quit Twitter, and you should quit too because it's awful.
Yes.
We talked about it. I can't quit.
I know. I wanted to die so I don't have to quit, which is how you know I'm addicted.
Yeah, I don't think I'm young or good looking enough to do well on Instagram. I'm not old and racist enough to do well on Facebook. Twitter is my sweet spot of like, I don't even have to show you my face. I can just write a joke and you might appreciate it. So that's
it's just, yeah, I know, but it's gotten so bad. Like, all the regulation is gone, and like,
It is a bit much.
mm-hmm.
And as a white guy noticing it, I can only imagine if it's for anybody that's not within this specific demographic, it's going to look even worse.
I know. It's just like, I'm like, either he said at one point, he's like, oh, I might give up the company. And I'm like, do that and leave. So, like, the rest of us can keep using this because it's like, it's bad.
It's like, you guys had a racist platform. Go to that. I love the people that think Elon Musk is like just like the smartest man in the world because he's the richest man in the world. And it's like, oh, no, he was just pretty good at marketing on a couple of things.
It's so crazy. But then it's like, you look at like medieval times and you're like, how did people believe in kings? And you're like, oh, this is how you're that stupid that you went, oh, this weird man in pantaloons was sent by God. Like, that's what Elon Musk people are. They literally treat him.
There is an emotional fiefdom to this aspect where people, they really genuinely believe that the royal cares about them. And it's like, oh, I don't know if you know this, but any of these people that love Elon Musk, he wouldn't even look at you twice. Like, that is an elite man who got money off of his parents' emerald mine.
If we just walk the land long enough, certainly our king is likely to notice. It's like, no. Buy all the Dogecoin you want. He doesn't give a about you. He's actually scamming you. He's a terrible person.
He's not good. He's not, and he's so not funny. And he just wants people to think he's funny. And he's like the worst edgelord open mic comedian I have ever seen.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And he's literally like lost with the he's done with like companies and like trying to be popular online. Like the millions of dollars he's lost by doing that. So embarrassing.
The billions of dollars that he's lost. It's even funnier. That man has lost more money than I'll ever see in my life. And I understand the like flex that is. But at the same time, I just like seeing rich people lose.
Yes.
Like, if rich people lose, I get happier.
That's another reason why I want to see Twitter burn. Because I do think it would be funny if he lost a ton of money on this
He'll just write it off.
Huh.
Because he's a huge piece of
I know.
Couple things I want to talk about, and we're going to end the show. We're going to get through that, and then we actually will have some bonus content for Patreon subscribers. So if you are not on the Patreon, feel free to head on over to patreon.com/jeffmate. Did you hear my doorbell? My doorbell just went off. That's very exciting. So we've got that going for us now. This is great. This is all I've ever asked for. You are actually nominated for a WGA award for your writing on the Jim Jeffries Show.
Yes.
Tell me about that job.
I mean, it was
just
fun.
gradual. Just tell me the whole thing about. No, tell me about writing for Jim Jeffries Show.
It was fun. It was fun. It was my first Writers Guild job, so it was like so nice to have Writers Guild insurance for X amount of years. That was massive life upgrade. So nice. But yeah, it was good. It was like my first union and like late night type writing show, from just going straight from like a game show type writer to actually writing more like thought out political pieces. So I mean, it was fun while it lasted. Yeah.
How long? Was it like 9 to 5 energy in that job?
Thank God it wasn't bad. It was actually like 10 to 6, so I was like able to go out and do comedy and everything. I mean, some days you had to stay later, but yeah, it was awesome.
He seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Good to work for. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I played pinball against him.
Did you?
In a one ball pinball tournament. Valerie and I both, we went to a one ball pinball tournament, and he was there with her friend Dave that they're good friends with. I think it was Dave. I don't know the name. Maybe Daniel. I'm a bad person. And I just like playing with him. I didn't mention that I was a comedian.
That's hilarious.
I was like, I'm not going to do that. Because the amount of like writing that must happen when a famous comedian meets like a non-famous comedian in public, I'm like, I'm not going to do that to this man. I'm not going to make him think I want something from him. Make him think I want it. Get an opening spot. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to live my life and beat him in one ball pinball games.
Honestly,
but he was really nice.
I never got pinball. I don't understand it at all. I don't.
I mean, it's just keep the ball up, and then there's ways to learn past that. It's really fun. You should come play with us sometime.
I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess that is also what volleyball is. So maybe I shouldn't write it off.
Yeah, it's kind of Pinball's, it's really fun. You should come play. We'll there's some
Yeah.
spots near where you live.
Oh,
that
yeah.
there's yeah. Not that we're not going to tell you what are the closest spots. For the foot guy is listening, and he's trying to be like, all right, just tell me where the house is. Tell me what the location is. How long were you writing on the show?
For 3 years.
Okay, so that's a pretty good gig for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then, do you want to go back to that style of writing?
I would, depending on the show. I'd rather go into scripted, just because that would be more credits towards selling my own show, which is, I mean, I would be willing to write for anything I thought was cool, or that I enjoyed, or at this point just for a check, so I don't really give a but
right. Is there a dream show, like past, present, or I'd say future, but we know that the answer would be if you said future, but past or present, is there a show that would be like your dream gig for writing on?
Past or present. Okay. I mean, I love What We Do in the Shadows. That's so much fun.
That is a great show. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Abbott Elementary is one of my favorite shows. So is like Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso's great. Yeah.
Oh my God, Southside is so funny too. I mean, all these shows are so great. Any show I enjoy, I would want to write for. Righteous Gemstones is great. Like all that.
Oh
shit.
yeah, that's a good one. Huh? So you were writing for the Jim Jeffries Show for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That got you that Writers Guild insurance. That's there. Mm-hmm. You would rather work in scripted. Mm-hmm. Is that like, or do you keep sending packets out for that? Like, how do you work on getting that done?
Yeah, it's like through my managers. So they like send out my writing samples and like look at who's staffing and then try and do that way.
How often does that? How many spec scripts do you have to write over the course of, say, a month?
I mean, a month. I don't know about that. I think like most comics probably just have one or two. I write a lot of scripts because I like writing, so I have a ton of scripts.
Okay, that was just wondering. And when I mean that, I mean like how with like between the opportunities, it's like, hey, can you do something in this style for like a packet or something like that?
No, I mean generally it's just like they don't they don't ask you to write something new for them because it takes a long. Well, it depends on what it is, but it can take a long time to write like an hour-long script. That's not something you can turn around in a staffing window.
Yeah.
So the thought is like if you are a writer, you should already have that to send to them. So
that is kind of neat. So you write, but you also act. Mm-hmm. There was something very interesting. There's two things that I want to talk about, and we're going to talk about that in the bonus content. But you have a film coming out that you worked on called Plan B.
Yes.
And when I looked at that, the names, like the cast was not unfamiliar to me. Where I was like, oh, like Shannon Elizabeth and Napoleon Dynamites and and Danielle Perez, comedian. Like, so what is Plan B? Do you know when that's coming out or?
I don't know when it's coming out. I'm excited for it though. It's like a rom-com about a girl who gets pregnant, and then like tries to convince a man she thinks will be better at raising her child, that it's his. And it's like about, figuring that out and navigating all of that. And I play that girl's best friend. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Good screen time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice. When did you film it?
This past July.
Okay, great. So July of 2022. Mm-hmm. So it's in post.
Yes.
So that'll be very exciting. So let's be on the lookout for Plan B. Wrapping up sort of the main episode here, talking about Dog Show, one of the things I noticed is that it was recorded sort of in what we believed to be the tail end of the pandemic. Like the pandemic had kind of fizzled out. And obviously, as of recording now, infections in California have gone up, 75%?
So crazy.
It is. Do you find that the pandemic, did it change anything about your stand-up, or did you just kind of power through and it's just more of like a resource for material, or did anything change about it?
I don't think anything changed about it. I think it made it was harder to run the hour going up to preparing to the recording. And then, like, of course, like, obviously you should be masked. It's, like, the responsible thing to do. But, like, performing for people who are masked, there's something that, like, the energy is just so different. And, like, the laughter doesn't carry as much. And especially if it's, like, a small indie show that I'm headlining, it was just kind of, like... whew, and there's like no alcohol in those venues and everybody has a mask on. I'm like, this is rough. So it definitely made it harder in that regard. and then just like shows getting canceled or like things happening. So
Yeah, we didn't bother. Like, as soon as the masking thing was an issue with Mint on Card, we're like, and we're pulling it.
Yeah.
We're not going to do this.
yeah.
We're not going to put people at risk
Yeah.
for a free comedy show in a toy store.
100%. It's like, yeah, I totally, yeah. I mean, at that, when I was running the hour, like most people were boosted by then, and it was like safe-ish, and like people were wearing masks, probably as safe as it is now. So I was like, okay, it's fine.
Where did you record the album?
New York Comedy Club.
Oh, New York Comedy Club in New York?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
Well, that's
New
weird
York
because there's
Comedy
New York
Club,
comedy clubs
Florida?
everywhere.
No.
There, I would guarantee you there's a club in Florida called New York Comedy Club.
That's hilarious.
I would check that. So we can find you on Instagram at Subhaha.
Yes.
Subhaha. And we can also find you as just Suba, which is Subhaha without the A at the end. Subhah on Twitter. Are you on the TikToks?
I am. It's just Suba Comedy. So Subhah Comedy.
Which is also your website.
Yes.
So you should absolutely. I'm looking up. By the way, I was looking up New York Comedy Club, LA, and there are New York Comedy Club. Florida. There are New York comedy clubs everywhere. There's a Los Angeles Comedy Club in Las Vegas. So there's like.
So confusing. Why?
It
Why do that?
really. Yeah. They want you to think you're in a different city.
I know. That's how you know your city's not doing well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come to Peoria, Illinois for Wisconsin Comedy Club. Like, whatever the
Yeah, I'm going to assume everything about a Peoria, Illinois comedy club is going to be about Richard Pryor. Like it's just going to be Richard Pryor.
I just like the idea of it's just, you know, your city is trash when you're representing every other city as a business, where it's like, come here for Parisian rolls, and like, not even like you don't even have to go to Europe, just Miami suntan lotion, and like anytime it's not about your city, it's bad.
Yeah, Boston has a lot of those ones. It's like Boston Comedy Club in Framingham, and you're like, that's not Boston. That is not Boston. That is 30. That's like when you see like a football game where the New England Patriots are playing, and they're like, beautiful Boston here at Gillette Stadium, and it's like Gillette Stadium is 45 minutes away from Boston. It is a hike. So Suba, we're about to move our way out of here. Again, if you are a Patreon member, I'm going to talk to Suba, and I are going to talk for a little bit more on the bonus content. But for the people listening for free, Suba, is there anything else you want to talk about? Plug? Obviously, Dog Show. Find it on Bandcamp through Blonde Medicine. Definitely listen to Family Gems. Find Suba at Subhaha on Instagram or Suba on Twitter, subacomedy.com. Plan B's coming up. Did I miss anything?
I guess I have like a weekend at a Comedy Fort, the first weekend of January, so I'll be out in Colorado. But like, all that information's on my website.
So So if you're in Colorado, go to Fort Collins. Go to the Comedy Fort where you can see Suba perform. From what I understand, that is a great venue. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited for you for that. Plus, Colorado's great.
Yeah, it's a fun state.
A lot of good people in Colorado. I've had good times there. If you want to hear more from me, obviously, please head on over to patreon.com/JeffMay, where you can hear this, plus monthly shows like Ugh Fine with Kim Crawl, as well as Nerd with Dre Alvarez, which you can get for free as well. But, you know, I like when you give me money for it. That's nice. So you can get on over there. You can also hear Unpopular Opinion and You Don't Even Like Sports, a sports podcast for people who don't like sports, both on the Unpops Network. And you can hear Tom and Jeff Watch Batman on the Gamefully Unemployed Network. You can find me on social media at Hey There Jeffro. And if you want to see me live, you might as well come to Mint on Card. It's the second Friday of every month at beautiful Magnolia in Burbank, California. Our next show is going to be January 13th, I believe. And that is our anniversary show. So it's going to be packed full of people. Suba, I'll see you in the Patreon exclusive content here. But for now, just say goodbye to the cheapskates.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Bye. Hey everyone, our artwork is created by Justin T. Brown, who can be found at Artness by Justin Brown on Instagram, as well as artnessbyjustinbrown.com. That dope music you heard is by Troy Nababon, available at Troy Nababon on Instagram as well as at troynababon.com. Nababon is spelled Nababan, and boy, does that shred. Thank you all so much for listening. See you next time.